and they seized cases and cases of the kinds of personal lubricant and baby oil that Combs' staff allegedly used to stock hotel rooms for the freak-offs, more than 1,000 bottles altogether.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Sean Diddy Combs, aka Puff Daddy. I'm going to call him Puff for this entire video because when he first came out back in the Craig Mack, all those days, that's all I knew him as. But anyway, he has been arrested by the federales. Now, this is of no surprise because remember, he had already been raided by the feds in not one, but two homes. I think one or more of his sons might have been there. They had to get taken out. People in the home were getting taken out. If the feds do all that simultaneously, you're toast. You're going to actually go through the criminal court process. All they're doing at that point is just gathering evidence for their case that they've been building. Then they're going to hit you with it. Okay. And the allegations here are sex trafficking and racketeering. This goes back to what he mentioned at the very beginning, the so-called freak offs. Now, some may describe these events as just sex parties, but they are saying that no, we got human trafficking going on and you have victims here. So now that's a problem. This all began a while back. I'm not really sure how long ago this was, when his ex-girlfriend of a very long time, Cassie, filed a lawsuit and he settled it right away for some big amount of money. She was asking for $30 million. His team responded and said, nope, we're not going to do it. So then I think there was a response from her team like, hey, check it out. Go ahead and pay that. You're going to regret it if you don't. I know things. The next day, 24 to 48 hours, boom, it was paid off. That started an avalanche of other accusers, male and female accusers, saying that he did something inappropriate, going all the way back to the 80s when he was going to Howard. Will he make Bit Rocks a little? I don't know. I'm not really sure. But what I want to do right now is get into the details of the indictment, because I said pretty much what's happening, but there's more. There's much more. Let's go ahead and get straight into it. And of course, I will link to this entire video in the box. I won't play the entire 18 minutes. I'll play the most important part. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Damian Williams, and I'm the U.S. Attorney here in the Southern District of New York. Today, I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution. The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice.
Now, as far as the whole arson thing, that could be in reference to the whole Kid Cudi situation because, okay, Cassie and Kid Cudi may have had some kind of relationship. Maybe they knew each other. I don't really know what the deal was between them. But Puff, whatever it was, Puff didn't like it. So he had Kid Cudi's car blown up. And the car did blow up. Like, that's a real story. It really did happen. It was documented. It's not a secret. It's just a matter of who did it. And it looks like the evidence that they may have could point toward Puff being behind it. But let's continue.
Let me say a little bit more about the charges. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers, some of whom he transported or caused to be transported over state lines.
Now, this could have been over hours or days. Days. I was reading that some of these so-called freak-offs would take place for days, and that he hooked up an IV to some of the girls, maybe even some of the guys, so they would stay hydrated during these sessions. That's just way too much. 1,000 bottles of baby oil, IVs, you're just doing too much. Oh, and by the way, I also read that when they apprehended Puff, when they arrested him today, he had some of that pink ecstasy that he was rumored to be bringing through a drug mule. So if they wanted to, it'd be easy drug charge to throw in there, but let's keep on moving.
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs. And he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant. As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair.
Now, we saw that in the CNN video. We saw that with our own two eyes when he was beating up Cassie in the hotel. We saw that, and it was really crazy. He was throwing flower pots at her, kicking her on the ground. It was really, really, really violent. And I think that could be the center of all of this. Okay, you engage in these sex workers all over the place, you're abusing people. You're beating people up. That's what the allegation states. And if his behavior was like what we saw in that video, this is not very hard to believe that he'd do it to other people.
On one occasion in March of 2016, that conduct was captured on video and later reported in the media. Specifically, Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a victim in a Los Angeles hotel when the victim was attempting to flee. As alleged, these assaults often resulted in injuries to the victims, which took days or weeks to heal. In addition to the violence, the indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs. He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral against the victims.
Like you blackmailing somebody. You know, I got dirt on you. That's kind of how they do. That's the rumor in the industry to get you into these compromising situations. And once they get video of you, now they can kind of control you, because if you don't do what they say, they leak the video and now you're ruined.
And the indictment alleges that he maintained control over the victims in several ways, including by giving them drugs, by giving and threatening to take away financial support or housing, by promising them career opportunities, by monitoring their whereabouts, and even by dictating their physical appearance. Because of all of this, the indictment alleges that the victims did not believe they could refuse Combs without risking their security or facing more abuse. The indictment also alleges other acts of violence undertaken by Combs and others, including violence against witnesses to his abuse, kidnapping, and arson. The indictment alleges that on more than one occasion, Combs carried or brandished firearms to intimidate and threaten victims and witnesses. Now, Combs did not do this all on his own. As I mentioned, Combs has been charged with RICO conspiracy. He used his business and employees of that business and other close associates to get his way. Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff. The indictment alleges that those individuals facilitated the freak-offs. They booked the hotel rooms and stocked them with the supplies, including drugs, baby oil, personal lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. When the hotel rooms got damaged, they helped clean it up. They arranged for victims and commercial sex workers to travel for the freak-offs, and they delivered large quantities of cash to Combs to pay for the commercial sex workers.
Now, are we going to try to get housekeepers and whatnot indicted? I hope not, because if the whole argument is, well, he had control over people and he was threatening them, shouldn't that also apply to those who are in his employ? And then do they even know that what he's doing is a crime or not? I don't know. So hopefully we're not trying to get the maids and the housekeepers locked up. The focus should be on Puff Daddy.
The indictment also alleges that they helped Combs cover up his crimes. During the March 2016 incident at the LA hotel that I mentioned earlier, a member of the hotel security staff intervened, and Combs attempted to bribe the staff member with a stack of cash to make sure that what happened was kept quiet. And as the indictment alleges, in late 2023, after public allegations were made about Combs' crimes, he and others pressured witnesses and victims to stay silent, including by making phone calls to witnesses and victims and giving them a false narrative of what they had experienced. And as alleged, Combs used others to help conceal his abuse by monitoring and preventing victims from leaving a location in order to hide their injuries, or by locating and contacting a victim who had attempted to flee. As part of this investigation, in March of this year, special agents from HSI executed search warrants at Combs' residences in Miami and Los Angeles. They also executed a warrant for Combs' electronic devices. During those searches, agents seized evidence of the crimes charged in this indictment. They seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 defaced AR-15s and a large capacity drum magazine.
Now, what does defaced mean? You're talking about the number scratched off? If you got something like that, yeah, you go into the penitentiary off of the guns. If you got the serial number scratched off, you don't want to have nothing like that. If he lawfully has guns and he didn't do anything wrong to own the guns, that's something different. But we'll see how that whole thing plays out.
They also seized evidence of the freak-offs, electronic devices that contain images and videos of the freak-offs with multiple victims. And they seized cases of the kinds of personal lubricant and baby oil that Combs' staff allegedly used to stock hotel rooms for the freak-offs, more than 1,000 bottles altogether.
You cannot make this stuff up. I don't mean to laugh at that because, okay, if you have like real victims here, that's something different. I'm not going to say if they were or if they weren't, because you might have people that volunteered, some that did not volunteer, some that were getting coerced, some that were getting beat. I don't know everyone's story, but the baby oil part is crazy. 1,000 bottles. Isn't that a tad bit excessive, Puff? I mean, come on, 1,000 bottles.
Here are some of the items that we recovered during the searches.
Uh-oh, are you going to show it? Okay. Yeah, I ain't see this part in the little preview. Hold on.
As you can see here, this is a drum magazine, large capacity, and it contains, I believe, 59 rounds. I mentioned as well, we recovered 3 AR-15s.
Man, is that all? Is that all? Really? Oh my God. Everybody, that's like the most beginner. This is what they found? Come on, man. Really? I thought it was going to be something that was really major. This ain't even no point in showing this because you can buy these at Bob's Gun Store right now. Bob's Gun Store right now. You could buy those.
This is a close-up shot of one of the AR-15s, and you can see right here, the serial number has been thoroughly...
Oh, yeah. I almost forgot. The serial number scratched off. That's the problem. I'm about to say, I'm like, I understand now. I get it. Scratching the number off, you going to the penitentiary for doing that. You cannot do that at all.
Faced. Another picture of more ammunition and parts of 2 AR-15s right there.
All right, so there's more to the video. Like I say, I will link to the entire thing in the box. But as I close, I want to say this. Puff Daddy was allowed to survive as Puff Daddy and do his thing and have these free calls or whatever for like 30 years. But I've seen plenty of people like Chrisette Michele want to go to sing at the Trump rally. You cancel immediately. You could do certain things in the music industry and get canceled. Say the wrong thing, misgender somebody, use this and say this. You can get canceled immediately. But you could be Puff Daddy and do all this stuff, which will wind up getting you into prison, but you can live for 30 years and never get canceled. Funny how that works. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on this whole situation with Puff? Do you care? Do you not care? Is it a big deal? Not a big deal? Did you see it coming? Did you not see it coming? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I saw it coming as soon as the lawsuit came out and then he settled. I knew it was going to be downhill from there. And then when the federales came in, I knew it was a wrap. It's just a matter of time. It's probably already a deal on the table. All he's got to do at this point is just go ahead and sign because you're not going to beat it. You know, they got evidence, they got pictures, they got witnesses. You're not going to beat the case. Go ahead and just pretty much plead down to whatever you can get at this point. If this is similar to what Bill Cosby did, then he got 35 years in the penitentiary. So Puff could get close to the same thing if it's similar in nature, or if the severity of the case matches what Bill Cosby was accused of and ultimately convicted of. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.